especially if you get on some of these KOS lists. At least you wouldn't still be able to get sold. At least I'm thinking that that's the general consensus here. No one wants that.
Yeah, it would be interesting. It's almost like, say, what if the idols were like, twice as strong, and you had that much more to gain if you actually work together as a team. To kind of encourage you guys in the opposite direction. Because it basically it creates like a whole algorithm of possibilities. Just having that one change where you you form alliances, like you did in the old game, and you have friends that will help you, and people that you can rely on. And then if something goes wrong, you can manage it. You can have this kind of self-governing system. I think it's very interesting, and it the end results in a lot of these different scenarios are just really interesting. Like I have to say, like. It's kind of like, just think of any time in history, and in our world, in the real world, where a battle could have gone differently because so and so, Alexander the Great decided to kill his own lieutenants or something, something crazy like that, because he was thwarted by who they thought was the enemy at the time or something. So you have this kind of dramatic flow, this changing flow of power and exchanging power. And it's very interesting because I feel that Darkness Falls really encapsulated that, and I think it was fun for those of you because it was basically just a game. There was no idea of realms. It was just, this is Darkness Falls. Like, I'm kind of surviving on my own.
I mean, it was a huge game when it comes to like guilds. Your guilds back then were a lot more close knit. It felt more personal. And whenever you attack someone in a guild, it's like you were attacking the entire guild, as long as you were well liked in the guild. I mean, if you're just like this new player being a jerk, and sure, they're not going to care. But if you actually were part of a guild and they liked you because you participated and gave back to the guild, they're going to protect you. They'll get your back. So it was pretty rare for people just to go off willy-nilly other than imps. Imps would do pretty much whatever they wanted.
Yeah, and you could fall back on guild mates like you do realm mates in DFC. So in a way, DF didn't have other realms, so the only PvP was just killing other people in your realm. So I think that DFC and having the three realms makes it a lot more complicated to have the inter-realm combat, just because then you have no one to fall back on if you don't have that guild support that you had in DF, that where it's like guild versus guild, because they had their alliances that would sometimes fall apart, and they had wars where the guilds would fight each other. So I don't know, I not real big on it, but I do like the idea of having some limited interaction like that.
I'll tell you, I like good old Scott's idea there a lot. The idols slowly losing power if they're away from their shrine for so long. That's a pretty nice idea. I would explain why rather they had to be reset in the first place if we plan to reset them.
Oh yeah, that's definitely a good point to bring up. I think that I have some ideas that we'll try to go over, and I was thinking maybe that if a team has held the idols for quote unquote too long, then I think that obviously something needs to probably happen to help balance it out. So we are thinking about it. There is one idea that I have, but and it might actually kind of turn into what ends up happening. So I don't want to give it away just yet. But yeah, that's it has to be a delicate balance, because you can't just normalize the main objective in the game, because what's the point? I think you know, in DFC they managed it, you know, somewhat okay. They didn't change the value of it, but they did have a hard time, I guess, you know, resetting them or having an idea for that. So don't want to
but
go
they were
too
so
crazy.
limited, brother. I mean, they were just so limited in what they could do in that game. We've already come up with a dozen different things to help normalize the realms and balance the numbers. They didn't have that option.
Right. That's also true. So you know, I think I'm looking forward to that, because in a lot of instances, you guys will probably see certain functions, certain, you know, combat bugs that, you know, are just totally washed away, and you'll kind of see just how robust, you know, the new kind of back end will be because of all that. So definitely excited for that. So I think I'm gonna vote in this poll here. I think that it's a very interesting idea to play with, but I think that as a player, I probably only want it in certain areas. You know, if it's not all the way, if it's like all or nothing, but you know, in an arena, I think it'll be just fine. So I'm gonna go certain areas or events. Not that my vote really means that much, but I just want to get this so I can see the results.
It matters.
Penn was thinking about shadow issue, getting by walls. If you put a timer on it, how's that different from a vampire blending? It's not very different, I suppose, but I mean, you know, we have to remember that issues that occurred in DFC will not exist in Darkness Rises, purely because we don't have any of the old code. So that being said, I think there has been discussion about, you know, shadow as a skill. Will it be implemented? Will it be part of the game? And that's still kind of up for debate. I don't think it will be. I think that it might just be, if it's in the game, it'll be a little bit different, let's put it that way. But to answer your question, there's really no difference. This will be interesting to play around with the giveaway feature here in the Curse client. This will probably be useful later on once we have once players can actually log in. So giveaways for, who knows if it'll even be used, but I thought it'd be fun. It's a fun idea.
You can give away item renames in here. There you go.
Exactly. Another thing that, in regards to multi-boxing, you know, and I am borrowing from another MUD, but what they do is multi-client, basically multi-boxing is completely frowned upon. If you're caught, they usually catch you pretty quick, and they say, "Hey, you have another character on. You can only have one on," and they're pretty good about that. And if you keep doing it, then you know you go to jail. It's pretty simple. But what they do is the first Thursday of every month they have multi-day, and it's for 24 hours. You can multiplayer to your heart's content.
That's kind of cool.
It's the Purge.
Yeah. So that's another idea. So I guess we'll see. I think it's something that we'll constantly be monitoring. I guess there's no real clear decision to be made, but I think ultimately, with your guys' feedback, we'll have a simple start, and then we'll go from there. It's a little bit of both, Pen. So you can really easily check to see just by internet protocols and just checking their IP address and stuff like that, and if they're not savvy port forwarding hackers, then it should be pretty easy to spot. But that's the limit to my knowledge of it, so I won't be the one to design anything in that regard. But I'm actually the other way, just watching people and their playstyle. That's something that's a little easier to do, and that's obviously in Darkness Falls, if you have a character that's following themselves and they're really kind of running the group from one character, like an orc, for example. So many have done in the past. Or like if it's a common, healer and tapper combo that's leveling fairly regularly and they're online at the same time constantly, and then there's the whole chat aspect to it too. So there's a lot of ways to really kind of monitor somebody if you have the suspicion. So I guess ultimately the biggest slap in the face to everybody in the game would be realm ceasing and anything of that nature. So Alright, so just a couple more minutes here on the stream. We'll cut it short as there's not much else to update you guys on, but obviously we'll stay online. You can find me in the Crest client pretty much anytime I'm online working on the computer. So I'll be around, and I'm sure quite a few of us will be around as well. Yeah, Game of Thrones is important to a few people here, so I'll respect it.
To a few people?
I'm only guessing.
It's a good show. I didn't really care for the first episode of season 6, but I'm hoping that it gets better.
I don't know. It didn't quite catch me like it did so many people.
Well, that's because you have better things to do.
Touche. Anywho, so I'll go back to the portraits again, and you guys can salivate over those some more before we head out of here.
Show that skeleton again. That's the best.
So yeah, very happy with these as usual. The Kobold was a little difficult, I'll be honest. I think after a few edits, we got it down pretty good, but the face was just creating a lot of problems, so I went ahead and cleaned up the face quite a bit. I redid the eyes completely. I cleaned up the mouth, and it does look pretty demonic for just a sexy female kobold, but That'll do for now. I think her head is very